Hello, do have a copy of the Bible open at Revelation chapter 5 if you can, or you can find it online if you prefer. I think it'd be really helpful for what we're about to share. If you missed last week, I would suggest you do last week and then this week, but you may not have the appetite for that. Who could blame you? Just stay with me now if that's what you'd rather do. But do make sure you've listened to Liz bring our reading, and as I say, I would have a copy of it available to you because the Book of Revelation is extremely vivid, and it helps to keep refreshing yourself in the images that it heaps up into your brain. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'll also add my customary supplement to the message, where I'll just follow up one or two points which I won't give attention to in this main presentation. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope and pray that the time that you spend with me now in Revelation chapter 5 will prove good for you and bring light into life amidst challenging times with hope, but still plenty of challenge. So last week we arrived in the first part of one of John's visions of heaven that happens in the book we call Revelation. It's actually a long letter to people, but it features these visions. And this week we're actually continuing last week's vision, but there's just an intensification of focus. So last week, chapter 4, John is caught up and into the heavenlies, where he experiences these visions and sees things. And everything he writes to tell us about is loaded with symbolism and representations of earthly truth, tucked away in images that plenty of people in the churches will have known how to interpret then. But for 21st century folks, it can be a little difficult until you get used to it. And I do appreciate that, but I promise you it's always worth sticking with it and working your way through. So now we're now in chapter 5, and the second part of that initial big vision. I think of Revelation this way: this big vision, which follows the earlier stuff, because we're already in chapters 4 and 5. There's important stuff before, but this now opens up a new phase of the book, and it'll take us right through to the end phase of the book, the final vision, and what will lie in between is not for the faint-hearted, I can tell you. But the beginning and the end bits are really, really important context for what goes in the middle of the sandwich. So here we are, chapter 5, and John's attention is on the person sitting on the throne of heaven, God. And he notices that in God's hand, God holds a scroll, rolled up parchment, and it's had 7 seals put around it to hold it together and hold it closed until it is opened. To cut a long thing short, until it is opened, history stuck in meaninglessness. The suffering's happening, but it's going nowhere. The injustices are all over the place, but they're not leading to anything good. The stupid behaviour of humanity that doesn't need to heat up its planet, doesn't need to leave people in poverty, doesn't need to fight wars, doesn't need to do all kinds of things which we self-destructively do, harming everything around us. Meanwhile, and John feels so broken-hearted in his vision. I don't know if you've ever been upset in a dream and felt sorrow or grief or distress or fear or strong emotion in a dream. But in this vision, John is broken because he's told that there's just nobody around, or he's in his awareness, in his vision, there is nobody whom God can trust to take hold of the future that God is holding and break open the seals and let the history flow through all the suffering, pain ungodliness and injustice, to a point where it will issue in peace and life and healing and all good stuff. Now that's the final vision. We're way off that yet. So John just sees, well, we just seem to be stuck. Nobody who could possibly be worthy enough to unfold the rest of human history into a trajectory that takes us to a good place. It's just bleak and it seems hopeless. I wonder if that resonates with you in any way when you look at the issues of the world in which we live. It resonates with me plenty. So anyway, so there is John feeling all heartbroken about the hopelessness of everything. And then one of the chief characters of the heavenly scene says to him, no, you don't need to be so upset, John. Somebody's worthy to take that scroll and open its seals and unfold the history that leads to the good place. Look, I'm going to show you the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He's worthy. The Root of David. He's worthy. Let's take a look. Drum roll. And we're expecting this lion figure to stride into the center of our focus. This symbol of power and strength. What do these terms mean? Lion of the tribe of Judah and the Root of David. Well, very quickly, the tribe of Judah. So right at the end of Genesis, you can find the great ancestor of Israel, Jacob, blessing his 12 sons. And a curious thing happens when he's blessing his 12 sons, because everybody knows that the oldest son gets all the authority and so forth from dad, or most of it. But actually, in the blessing of the sons of Jacob, it is son number 3 who is told, Judah, you are a lion. You're a lioness. You will rule all your brothers. They won't stand against you. You're too strong for them. And in fact, such is the strength which is in you and your descendants, that from your descendants will come a ruler for the entire world. Not what we'd expect for the third son, but there is the promise, the Lion of Judah, from whom comes the mighty rule. Well, the warrior King David, who really established Israel as a force to be reckoned with, he is of the tribe of Judah. And curiously, so is the carpenter's son, Jesus of Nazareth, is also of the tribe of Judah. And so he's referred to in these 2 titles, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He is worthy to take hold of history and unfold it to its best conclusion. The stump of David that's been cut down by the invading forces over time, including now the Romans, out of that cut down, don't worry, the root is still underground. It will come up, and one with great power will be there. Here comes the lion. And then says John, I saw him, a lamb, a slaughtered lamb, living, but a lamb that had been slain. I go, what? What kind of lion is that? Lions eat lambs for breakfast. What can a lamb do, for goodness sake, particularly one that's been slain? Where's the good of that? And the good news is, because there's something that the lion can only do as the lamb and not as the lion. The lion is the one who exerts the strength, who exerts force, who dominates, who overpowers, who makes the right things happen by the rule of the iron scepter. The lion is the embodiment of rule by strength. But where is the greatest power? The greatest power is God. What do we learn in 1 John chapter 4 about God? John never says God is power, although that is true. He says God is love. There is something about love that is more powerful than power. And what love must do is allow you and me and everybody else the choice as to whether to love or to not love, whether to live by love or live by selfishness, whether to live God's way or live in rebellion, whether to live in a way that treasures life and brings healing and wholeness, or live in a way that exploits and just seeks the short-term good of the self. That's a choice. And there's no compelling the heart choice of love. That must be won by self-sacrifice. The lion must become the lamb, who instead of killing others to establish justice, lays down his own life. Do you remember how Jesus said to those disciples who drew their swords ready to sort of fight for him at the last when Jesus was arrested? He said, "Do you think I can't call upon my Father and he would send me more than 12 legions of angels? Do you think this is a lack of power? Oh, put away your swords. That's not our way. I've chosen a completely different way. I lay down my life." Do you remember how he said, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone would lay down their life for their friends"? There is an act of courage that the lion must undertake, and it is the courage to be the lamb. To lay down power is so hard for the powerful. To lay down dominance is so hard for those who have true authority. But love can do it. And only love can do it. And only love can really confront sin for what sin really is. The lion can't conquer unless the lion also becomes the lamb. Now, many of my prayers are for Jesus to act as lion. I get fed up with the situation in the world. I don't see why we are careering at such a mad speed towards climate disaster when we're capable of stopping it. And so I asked Jesus to step in as the lion and knock some heads together and take over and stop this. I want him to wade in and undo the incredibly unjust and stupid political systems that we have, the kind of nuts behaviours that dominate life for human beings and with us, the rest of nature on this planet. I want Jesus to wade in and put a stop to it. I often pray in those terms. But when I'm receptive enough in my praying, Spirit takes me deeper. And I can hear Jesus tell me, I'm the lion who is the lamb. And I lay down my life. I don't dominate. I give myself. I don't force the issue. And I called you to follow me. Which is not really what I intended as the answer to my prayer when I pray like that. Anyway, the wisdom of God is found in the lion becoming the lamb. The love of God is found in the lion becoming the lamb. And the power of God, which is a power of love, is found in the lion having the courage to be lamb. And it is that which is celebrated in the poems of heaven in Revelation chapter 5. It is worthy the lamb, because he can be given power and wisdom and wealth and strength and honour and praise and glory. You don't give those things to one who is hungry for them. you give those things to somebody who lays down power. They alone are worthy to take up the absolute authority. And so heaven sings not to the lion, but to the lion who became the lamb. As we approach Easter, I think one of the very best things to do is hang out for a while, reading and rereading Revelation chapter 5. It will so help us understand the cross and an empty tomb. God bless you.